Oh my gosh. I am being spoilt this evening. Welcome to my closet. I have been brought up a cup of tea. I do love my cuppers. Are you going to bring it over?
Yeah.
I would like it. So, yeah, we're talking about parents, and everyone has one, biological or not. Without them, we wouldn't be here. Thank you. Thanks for the brew. So, now that you have me all to yourself with my cuppa, let's talk about our parents. Um, so, quite interestingly, I've been hearing a lot of, I call them memes, and people laugh at me, but I know they're now called memes around being able to love yourself, and in the absence of having parents that can't love themselves, then having children that they then can't give that nurturing to, then we're kind of in a perpetuating cycle of having children, being children ourselves, and then issues cropping up in cycles, generationally. So, for example, we have in my paternal family, they have had some issues which weren't dealt with when they were younger, and that then transformed into their adult behaviors, which then transcended into them being quite standoffish and not as emotional and not as sharing and giving and loving, openly loving, quite resistant to um, embraces and hugs and talking about their affections, and being quite coming across cold but really wanting a lot more than what they're truthfully showing and saying. So yeah, bit of waffle there, but in a way, in a matter of fact way, trying to just say that um, we are all a product of our environment, and if we don't deal with um, our stuff, if we're not fortunate enough to look within ourselves and address issues, if we don't have friends and people around us that we can talk to in order to work on those issues, look to change ourselves, understand what it is that we're going through and why it is we're going through, so where it comes from, and then owning that and then changing ourselves. So, and that goes for so many of us in so many different ways. So yeah, that is kind of a very broad synopsis of where I see parents struggling, and then that behaviour is not stopped and addressed. So, if I want to talk about when you come out of your comfort zone, when you open up, when you share, when you start living for you, then what that means. So I had to pause quickly because I thought I had listening ears, but I'm being assured that my husband's sitting in the bedroom watching TV. I can hear the biscuits rustling. He's not left me any biscuits with my tea, so which is good because COVID has had me eating a good few packs a week, and I've got quite a belly. And no, I'm not having a baby. So this is a COVID baby belly that I need to get rid of ASAP. But let's part that. Okay, so obviously when I was younger, I had come out to tell my parents that I'm in a relationship with somebody, having a child, and I'm leaving home. So it was all a big kind of crash of stuff that came all at once. It's not kind of the traditional route of somebody of my background being a Sikh Jat girl. So anyway, so I'm talking about when your parents reject you, how to go about dealing with it, how to go about addressing it. So a lot of us can go inwards, can get to start to wonder, well, what have I done wrong? Obviously, see where we've kind of been disowned or pushed out by our siblings, our families, our wider families, and our parents. Now, I was quite lucky that I had siblings that were young enough not to be young enough to be able to speak their mind as children do, and be quite like, well, what's wrong with what she's done? This would be my little brother, who was about 8 or 9 at the time, and my parents couldn't quite articulate an answer that made sense to my 8-9-year-old brother at the time. So there was that, and then I had a younger brother that was about 17 at the time, who again, like me, was not brought up around a strong Indian community, so was very diverse in his friendship groups and the people that he dated. So he was I've had him on side in that sense. And then not having a huge family influence or extended family influence in a nearby locality helped as well. And so having younger brothers helped me. Not having extended family members did help me. And then having a partner who is older than me that actually would be quite literal and say, well, why? He'd question everything, and then he'd make me question everything, and then I'd go and question everything with my parents, and then they couldn't really see what the reason was why they didn't feel they needed me around. So for example, I'd be told, you can't come here anymore, you can't come to the house, blah blah blah, you're cut out the will, you're dead to me, this, that and the other. And I didn't give back the house keys, and I would just say things like, when they'd come and see my firstborn, they'd be like, oh, well, he's got straight hair, oh, he doesn't look that dark. And I'd be like, yeah, he has got straight hair because I've got straight hair, and he's my child and he's got straight hair. And I'd be told, like, that's not my grandchild. And I'd be like, well, actually, you can say that, but you actually know different, because I am your child and I have had that child, and so therefore that is your grandchild, whether you choose to believe it or not. So kind of just being very literal kind of helped. And then, over the years, every time somebody got pregnant, my mum would be over the moon, really happy. Every time she heard that I was pregnant, and I'm whispering because I know I've got kids sleeping in the other room, but literally, my mum would fly off the roof. She'd be the last person that I'd tell, because there was one time I told her, and we were drinking a cup of tea, and my mussy had come to visit from India, and she found out I was pregnant, and she got her tea, and she just flung it across the patio, and it smashed on the wall, and and then she just cursed me out. I was like, you know, and they'd make statements like my nan would say things like, is she a cow? And like people in India would be like, is that what they do in England? Just have kids? And no, we don't. But that was my calling. That was what God chose for me to do, and that was what happened with me. So yeah, so I, you know, and I've been supportive of friends who have had issues with their parents, and they're from different cultures, not just Indian cultures. My friends are from all different backgrounds, English, um, Caribbean, African, mixed backgrounds, blended families, you know, step parents, and so on. And they've all, you know, we all have issues with our parents from time to time. And at the end of the day, I think sometimes you can persevere and try and stay in someone's life, and they'll kind of give in, and then sometimes you'll persevere with somebody and they just keep rejecting you because of their own reasons, and all you can do is try. So I'm going to encourage you to try and reach out to whoever it is out there that you haven't spoken to, even if it's not your parents, even if it's like a brother or a sister that you haven't seen for years. You know, we get very distant from our siblings when parents pass and there's nobody holding the family unit together, and then people go off and have their little families, and then just understandably life takes over. So if there is anybody out there who hasn't and wants to reconnect with somebody, they should at least try if they can, and then just take baby steps from there. And you know, I'm not going to say it's easy, I'm not going to say it will work out, but all you can do is try, because we're only here once, and everybody deserves to love and be loved, and that's, you know, that transcends past just a parent and child relationship. It's also for couples, for friends, for siblings, for cousins, for everyone. So yeah, so leave some comments down below. Let me know if there was anything that I was vague about that you'd like me to extend on or talk about another time. And have a good evening.